What's good, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. Once again, you're listening to World Combat Sports. What's good? Appreciate everybody stopping through the building. TC in the house. Dion Washington, what's good, my guy? What's good, man? Appreciate your support as always, man. Shout out to Alabama in the building as always. I want to touch bases that, it's a lot that's going on. Everybody have their own opinion about the situation that went down with the heavyweight division, dealing with Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin. And as I'm listening to a lot of people, I hear some people saying that he deserved a rematch in Dillian Whyte, and some that say he don't. What I do know is that he was talking a lot of shit before he got freaking knocked out. I mean, he was talking shit about Wilder. He was talking, he was saying that basically, Luis Ortiz was an old man, but yet and still, and Dillian Whyte went in here and fought an older man. He fought Alexander Povetkin, who was 40. Joshua fought Alexander Povetkin when he was 39. You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes down to holding somebody accountable, Whyte, he fought Watch too. I think his name is Mariza Watch. He was older. Lucas Brown was older. So I take that all in consideration when it comes to, what some U.S. media or some U.S. fans won't hold Dillian Whyte accountable for. Because when Dillian Whyte had the opportunity to do what was right, that means Tyson Fury, he didn't take the immediate rematch, and he could have fought Dominique Breazeale. He chose not to. He wanted to fight Derek Chisora. You know what I'm saying? So once Dillian Whyte committed to, wanting to fight Derek Chisora instead of Dominique Breazeale, well, there you have it. Deontay Wilder went in there and closed out Dominique Breazeale, no issues. But just say, for instance, if Dillian Whyte would have been the man in the position, he would have had no issues. If he would have went in there and defeated Dominique Breazeale, got that out the way, then he would have been standing tall right in front of Deontay Wilder for the belt. You tell me, right or wrong. You tell me what you think, Shouty. Should we show mercy on Dillian Whyte for what happened with all his transgressions leading up to this fight with Alexander Povetkin? Should we show him any mercy when it comes to what he was saying about the U.S. heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, WBC crown holder? Should we show him any mercy for all the shit he was talking about Deontay? From the time that he stepped out the ring and said, Deontay, let's go, Deontay, let's go. Me? Nah. I don't feel we should show Dillian Whyte any type of mercy because he's a grown man. He knows the sport. He understands that he should have faced Dominique Breazeale. He chose not to face Dominique Breazeale. You know what I'm saying? Wilder, he went over there and faced Dominique Breazeale in an epic first round knockout. One of the most brutal knockouts that you will see. I mean, when you see a man body, like seriously, when you see it in person, it's different because it's almost like listening to a concert, right? If you watch a concert on the computer, you're like, okay, I hear the music, but I really can't feel the music. People's dancing and stuff, but I really can't feel it. But until you go to a concert and you hear the bass and you feel the song and everything else, that's the same way it goes for a punch. When you see a man drop as tall as Dominique Breazeale, he's like 6'5", right? Something like that, 6'5", whatever. Him and Deontay is around the same height. When you see a man crumble to the ground from one freaking punch, and everybody's getting up there cheering, that just lets you know that probably Dillian Whyte was a little afraid to step in there with Dominique Breazeale. So he chose to go over there and fight Derek Chisora. That's the choice you made there, Dillian Whyte. That's why all this build up, calling my man a coward and all this other shit. talking about, oh, you want to be in the position as WBC mandatory to face the champ. Eddie Hearns was trying to push Dillian Whyte into that position. He was trying anything and everything to make sure that was going to work out perfectly. But the master plan for Dillian couldn't go as well as Joshua, because if indeed Eddie Hearn was trying to do anything and everything to get Dillian Whyte in that position, hopefully he can go over there and defeat Dillian Whyte so they can have an all UK, right, extravaganza for the championship. The same thing in which they're trying to do with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. It just didn't work with Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte, in a sense, he has a lapse in judgment sometimes. Dillian Whyte may understand the magnitude of where he's trying to go and how much it will benefit him if he accomplished the mission. But really, he don't know what it takes to get there. He don't know how to carefully plan, how strategic it has to be. It's way outside the box. You have to go study. You have to prepare yourself mentally and physically. But when it comes down to it, mentally, you have to have the patience to understand where you're trying to go. So in order for you to get there, this is what you need to accomplish. And Dillian Whyte, he just wasn't up for the part. He really wasn't up to the part. He wasn't mentally strong to get himself into that position to fight Deontay Wilder. Just like Anthony Joshua, he's not mentally strong to say, you know what, Eddie, let's go ahead and unify the titles. Let's go, do or die. No, don't bring your ass over here to the U.S. when it's time to face Jarrell Miller, who campaigned over 300 pounds, who lacks power. Don't come over here and to the U.S. for the first time and want to fight Jarrell Miller. No, you could have came over here and just took your career to a whole nother level. If you would have came over here and pretty much as I don't like hyping this dude up, if you would have did what Tyson Fury did and came over here for the undisputed titles and convinced Eddie Hearns, just say, you know what, it's time. I'm a gold medalist. He's a bronze medalist. You know how Joshua put, he liked count. First of all, when it comes to the Olympics, I'm a gold medalist. He's a bronze medalist. So therefore, I'm ahead of him already. That's Anthony Joshua. That's how he proceeds to prove that he's better than somebody. Second of all, I have better boxing technique. Everybody says it. I'm the unified champion. So therefore, if he's better than me, why he couldn't get the IBF belt from Charles Martin? Why he couldn't step in here and fight for the vacant WBA belt? Why he didn't fight Joseph Parker? You know what I'm saying? He would give you all these whys. That's what he do. That's what Anthony Joshua does. So therefore, we understand that Dillian Whyte ducked Deontay Wilder, right? When Deontay Wilder was out here fighting Luis Ortiz, all them cats over there were saying, nah, he's too old. You know, they want to stall him out. They don't want to pay him what he's worth. They was up here stalling Luis Ortiz out until he got in a little trouble with blood pressure medicine and all that. So they went elsewhere. They didn't want to fight Ortiz in the first place. So, he was ducked by Dillian Whyte. He was ducked by Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? Who from over there? If Deontay Wilder was willing to go over there and make it happen, why? You know what I'm saying? That wasn't the first fight that he was going to take a trip over there to the UK. It wouldn't have been the first. But when it comes down to Dillian Whyte getting knocked out by Alexander Povetkin, guess what? Guess what, people? He gets no cushion. He gets no motherfucking waiver, man. He gets no waiver. He don't deserve a waiver. Because for you to have a post-fight interview and you're saying you got touched or it wasn't like you was getting beat up the entire fight, dude, you was only heading into round 5. Cinco. At the end, it's amigo. Come on. Do you understand? You was just heading into the 5th round. It wasn't even mid-fight yet. And you're saying it wasn't like you was getting beat up all the rounds. You only fought a solid 4 rounds. And you end up dropping Alexander Povetkin in the 4th round. So how can you go from a man who's on the brink of taking that next step in his career to being all over social media for one of the most brutal knockouts in the UK, over your way, because we seen more worse over here across the pond. But over your way, yeah, that left uppercut, it sat you down, stressed you out, and you were sunbathing beneath the lights. Now, hey, it ain't personal, Dillian, but I'm just saying, why the rematch? Why all of a sudden, we should think that Dillian Whyte should get a rematch? If y'all in the building, man, smash the like button, man. Smash the like button, man. The stove is hot. I already turned that bitch on. The stove is hot, man. We got to make sure that Dillian Whyte understands that he needs to do better by us, the boxing fans. Don't get in here and say, well, it's not like I got touched up, or, he was doing, he was damaging. He was landing some damaging blows during the fight. That's not the mentality you have. If you all would have seen my live, I said, well, Dillian Whyte, in his perspective, he's saying, give me a shot at Deontay Wilder, and I would do what nobody else has wanted to do. They were scared. I'm not scared. I go in there and I'll try to pressure, and I get on the inside and try to rough them up. And if I get chinned, I get chinned. You would have got knocked out just like Dominique Brazil. You would have got knocked out like Dominique Brazil, shouty. What's going on, H Money, Mr. The Zone in the building? Salute to you, bro. Y'all go check his channel out. JC in the building. Now, when it comes to Dillian Whyte, what he does next, well, guess what? What he does next is basically in the hands of his people. If Alexander Povetkin has any sense, you know what I'm saying, at 40 years old, he would not give Dillian Whyte a rematch. He don't need to. He doesn't need to give Dillian Whyte a rematch. All he need to do is take on the next opponent, whoever that is, you know what I'm saying, and go on about his business. He's an older guy. He did get touched up and dropped twice. So therefore, he needs to go over here and move on to the next individual, the next opponent. That's all he needs. He don't need to give Dillian Whyte a rematch. Whyte is young enough to the point where he can get back in line and make it back up to this, championship interim or whatever. He can make it back up there. All he needs to do is apply himself in the gym and make it work. You know what I'm saying? This is not the first time he's been in trouble in a fight. He's been in trouble before. And pretty much he didn't learn. Just because he got the win doesn't mean he learned anything. He just was able to get past that particular point. I don't think Alexander Povetkin should show him any cushion. And, from what he did with Deontay Wilder, guess what? He needs to keep it pushing and thinking we're going to show him any mercy. You don't sit up there and call my man a coward when he knocking cats out. He got 41 knockouts. You don't sit up here and call him a coward like that. You sit up here and you let your hands do the talking. And then you face everybody that you're supposed to face. And then when that position presents itself, you get the shot, shawty. You get the shot there, Dillian. If you would have faced who you're supposed to face, if you would have been the one to face Dominique Brazil, then you would have been good. You go out there, finish Dominique Brazil, then you get a shot or whatever for the interim, for the mandatory shot at Deontay Wilder. But Deontay faced Dominique Brazil. You know what I'm saying? Who else that was in the running faced Dominique Brazil? You know what I'm saying? Like y'all was trying to corral opponents over there in the UK without coming over here and fighting Deontay. JC, you can never put pressure on me, homie. Never. Not in this boxing game. Not in this mixed martial arts game. One thing, I don't need people to tell me what I know. You always hear it. What's understood don't need to be explained, shawty. You know what I'm saying? What's understood don't need to be explained. So you know what it is, man. H said, they said Eddie Hearn already has a date for the rematch. Yeah, that's what they say. But until they have a press conference to make it official, that's what it is. Yeah, he went back to jail for 7 days. Yeah, I haven't even got on that yet. You know what I'm saying? H, you challenge JC. That's not a challenge for me. It's no verse anything, because a dude who don't show his face on screen, I'm not worried about. Everybody can be a boxing encyclopedia if they're gonna be behind the screen, but I can sit up here and talk in front of the camera. I don't need no screensaver. I'm not a temporary. But anyway, back to Deontay Wilder. We definitely need to understand that Dillian Whyte didn't want to step in there with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, is still top 2 heavyweight in boxing, period. He is the top 2 heavyweight, period. I still believe he can go in here and defeat Tyson Fury. I still believe that. I still believe that he can go in here and get his belt back from Tyson Fury. I totally, absolutely, 100% believe Deontay Wilder can go in there and get his belt back from Tyson Fury, wholeheartedly. Nothing's changed. I'm not going to go back to the way he looked or whatever. He took his punishment. He showed heart way before that. Deontay Wilder showed heart way before this fight with Tyson Fury. He was still fighting when the referee stepped in. He was still throwing punches. For him to have the frame of a basketball player, as they say, dude can hit hard. And one thing you can't, do with power, you can't say, well, someone trained him to have that power. No, Wilder was blessed with some crazy amount of atom. You know what I'm saying? Atomic. You know what I'm saying? His hands have atomic TNT to them. They're nuclear. When he hit opponents, they go down in the worst way. Some of those brutal knockouts you will see of this era came from Deontay Wilder. Period, man. Some of those brutal knockouts you'll see. Sleep, Romain Stavern, Ambien, Spilka, Ambien, Brazil, Ambien, Ortiz ×2, Ambien, Tyson Fury, Ambien. Man, come on, the list goes on and on, dog. No cushion, Dillian. No cushion, man. Eddie Hearn should not even consider Dillian Whyte, you know what I'm saying, to go over here and try to get him a rematch. Alexander Povetkin should not consider. He needs to just get back in line and face some of the newcomers that's coming up. By that time, we will see where Alexander Povetkin's at. Alexander Povetkin doesn't have a long time remaining. His next fight will probably be his last fight, to be honest. His next fight will probably be his last fight. If it's against Dillian Whyte, he goes in there, knocks him out again, then he'll stay around and fight another fight for a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, if he fights someone else out of the lineup of Dillian Whyte or whoever, it might be his last fight. Who knows? Who knows, really? Who knows? He's an older guy. He's been around boxing for quite some time. And I can pretty much tell you that Alexander Povetkin or Dillian Whyte is not going to be standing in line once Deontay Wilder gets back in there and smashes Tyson Fury. They're not going to be standing in line with their hand up. Just like Gary Russell said, the first one, whoever the first, no, how he put it, he said, whatever one of you suckers, raise your hand first. You know what I'm saying? Whichever one of you suckers, raise your hand first. Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin, if you still there in boxing, once Deontay get his title back, then guess what? You up. You got it. TC say he can. That's right. He can always land. There's no pressure over here, man. There's no pressure over here. That's anybody in this live chat. That's anybody. Can get it. Anybody. I'm channeling my Adrian Broner. And since Adrian Broner pops up, Adrian Broner's back in jail for a sexual assault that happened, which, gave him 2 years probation. But in the process, there was a civil suit and, a situation that he got into. So he was pretty much ignoring everything that was court ordered. So they end up, putting him back in jail, and he's pending a civil suit. Now, I always tell people the game is real out there, especially when you got money. The number one sin, period. People always ask, what's the number one sin? Is it money? No, it's not. The number one sin that can make money and create a situation where they can get money by all means necessary is a woman. Period. Period. It's no offense to a woman, but a woman is one of the most smartest creatures ever. So when it comes to seeing this bad one, that bad one, this bad one, temptation is a mother. And, for Adrian Broner, he just was in that position where, he kind of took it too far, being on probation for 2 years, not really caring about what he's going out here doing. I'm not here to judge the man. It is what it is, man. Nobody's perfect. But when it comes down to it, 7 days in jail for Adrian Broner is cake. Nobody's gonna fuck with Adrian. Nobody's fucking with Adrian Broner. Period. He's that dude, man. Real talk. Seriously. He's gonna have more guys in there probably trying to chat it up with him because of his reputation out here, like how cool he really is and how he stick to the script and all that. Adrian Broner, I can't say really. I've seen him out here being goofy and acting like a clown. Some people say he does some clown shit, but that's one person that you don't see out here just acting outside of character. He's pretty much the same either way you look at it. If he talk to you, he talk to you. If he don't fuck with you, he ain't gonna say shit. So, he'll be out, whatever. But to Dillian Whyte, get in line, face some of the young lions that's up here, and we'll be good. We'll be good, Dillian, because that's what you need. You need to get remediated. You know what I'm saying? You need remediation. You don't be in a fight of this magnitude, which would have place you in a position to fight Tyson Fury, a place that you didn't look. You claim you want to be with Deontay Wilder, but you want to finagle your way, behind the brushes and everything, and then want to do what it takes to get to that position. So you end up fucking up along the way, and you say, "Yeah, I'll fight Alexander Povetkin. Yeah, I chin him, I bang him out. Yeah, I spark him. No problem." So it goes in there with Alexander Povetkin, two repeat offenders. And heading into this fight, I really didn't have any favoritism. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have any favoritism towards the other because they've both been accused of cheating, right? Back in the day. So I really didn't have any love, but especially for Dillian Whyte or what happened with him and Oscar Rivas and everything, and the glove situation and the B sample situation. And what happened between him and UCAD and the BBBOC, I was like, damn, this dude really, he gets over a lot. He really gets over. So heading to this fight with Alexander Povetkin, I wasn't up here saying, man, I hope Dillian Whyte wins so he can step in there with Tyson Fury and Tyson Fury can spark him. Nah. I was like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch the fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna sit back and watch. I'm gonna chill. Something good's gonna happen. I'm just gonna sit back and chill. And I did. And we all seen what happened. He's closed out in the 5th round in 2020, which, at this point, being knocked out by Joshua and being knocked out by Povetkin, he didn't need that. Dillian Whyte didn't need that knockout. He surely didn't need the knockout. So that's my take on that situation. I mean, it is what it is. It's not something that I'm going to keep on hyping on to advocate for freaking Dillian Whyte, but it is what it is. Next, I want to talk about Terrence Crawford. And shout out to Gary Russell. I really hope he get that fight with Terrence Crawford. I know they talking about, fights with Kell Brook and Terrence Crawford and all this other stuff, right? But yeah, Whichever one of you suckers raise your hand first. Hey man, I want to see something different in boxing. I like athletes who take risk. You know what I'm saying? Who's willing to take risks. It's been athletes that take risks. Either it's going to pay off for them or it's going to be detrimental, period. But you would never know unless you do it. You know what I'm saying? You got to accept the challenge. You got to go over there and put yourself in a position to be considered great. And Gary Russell just came on again on another video, and he basically made mention about a story where they was in the amateurs again, and his brother was in there fighting, and he kept it in the hundo and said his brother was losing. So he said Terrence Crawford and I guess Jorge Alvarez or something like that, some fighter, and another dude, they was up there running their mouth. So he said, okay, I heard what they talking about. All right. So he said, he kept paying attention to his brother. He said his brother was losing the fight. And then he heard Terrence Crawford say something to the point where, I'll make easy work of him. So G. Russell went up the bleachers, and he basically, told them, say, what the fuck y'all talking about? Who talking shit? Say it one more time. You know what I'm saying? Say it one more time. He basically went up there and say something one more time. And he said Russell and the other two boxers didn't say anything. I mean, Crawford and the other two boxers didn't say anything. Nobody said nothing. And he said, yeah, that's what I thought, and went back down there and continued to watch the fight. That is before the incident happened with him swinging on Crawford. That was before. But that's where we at with G. Russell, man. Let's talk about Terrence Crawford, though. Boxers' lives matter. Seriously. Because people going around here, look, black boxers' lives matters too. You know what I'm saying? If people want to talk about Black Lives Matter. Black boxers' lives matters too. Because it seems like a lot of people are doing process of elimination when it comes to supporting fighters who are in the top pound for pound list. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to two black fighters, right? It's almost like you take a choice. You balance. You up here juggling. Who do I want to support? Why is it like that? Because Crawford did what he had to do, fought who he had to fight. Now, of course, Jeff Horn went in there and was stopped by Tszyu, the son of Costa Tszyu. Everybody want to jump on the bandwagon and say, "Oh man, Costa Tszyu." I'm saying to myself, like I'm listening to this cat talk, and I say, "Are we talking about the same Costa Tszyu?" Like, yeah, people link him up to Zab Judah, but are we talking about the same Costa Tszyu? Like, should we go to his resume? Should we see what he's done? Because Tszyu will always be in the shadow a little bit of his father. They look just alike. Nothing against Tszyu, but he goes in there and stopped Jeff Horn in 8 rounds. All right. So let's go back to Jeff Horn's record. 3 fights. Let's just go 3 fights before he stepped up. Right. He fought Ali Faneka. So he went in there and he stopped Faneka in like 6 rounds, I think. Right. This is a welterweight. Then he steps in with Manny Pacquiao for the WBO super title, and he wins the decision. Then he steps in there against a guy that's defending his belt for the first time, Gary Kukarari. Kukarari, I believe he stopped him in like 11 rounds. So he was able to defend his title, Jeff Horn. Then he makes the ultimate step up. Yeah, it's a step up for Jeff Horn, because we're talking about people on his resume and stuff like that. It was a step up. Now you're saying, why was that fight with Terrence Crawford a step up for Jeff Horn? Because Terrence Crawford came into the division formerly undisputed, a 2-division champion. So Terrence Crawford Once he left the division, he stepped up and was ranked #1 for Jeff Horn, who was the champion. That's how boxing does it. They can move you up whenever they freaking feel like it. So therefore, he steps in with Terrence Crawford. And this is where it gets a little fuzzy. He gets stopped in 9 rounds. Terrence Crawford was the first fighter to stop Jeff Horn. Wasn't Jeff Horn undefeated? Jeff Horn defeated Manny Pacquiao. So if you're going to give him the credit of stepping in there with an 8th division champion, a boxing legend, you cannot discredit that Jeff Horn stepped in there with Manny Pacquiao, who stepped in there with Terrence Crawford. It built up. Jeff Horn defeated Pat. Crawford defeated Horn. That's how it went. So therefore, he has to live with this situation where people are not giving Crawford any type of, I would say, credibility, because they're saying, you know, Jeff Horn really haven't did anything. He's just a tough, grimy Aussie boxer, and he really haven't did anything in the sport. So no, we're not going to give him any credit. But yet, Pacquiao comes up here, no drug test. He goes in there and defeats Jeff Horn. I mean, not Jeff Horn, Keith Thurman for the WBA. And people are ranting and raving, talking about, oh, man, he looked great. So which one is it going to be? The Manny Pacquiao that defeated Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman was undefeated? Is that it? Because the last time I checked, Jeff Horn was undefeated when he stepped in there with Crawford. Crawford was 36-0, 32-0. Crawford was 32-0. He stepped in there with an undefeated fight and beat him, the first one to stop him. No credit for him stepping in there with Manny Pacquiao. But Pacquiao goes ahead and defeats Keith Thurman, and everybody's like, oh, man, that's the best. Manny Pacquiao still got it. But he was in there with no drug testing. He got the win, but how do you unbalance? How do you ignore what happened in the lead up to Jeff Horn stepping in there with Crawford? How do you ignore the fact that the same Manny Pacquiao, it's only one Manny Pacquiao, stepped in there with Jeff Horn, was beat, but stepped in there with Keith Thurman on that night and won? So which one are you going to provide credit to? You need to make up your mind. So Jeff Horn goes on to face Anthony Mundine. All right. He knocks him out. He moves up to junior middleweight and knocks him out in one freaking round. Close it. Then he steps in there and faces Anthony Mundine, who had over 55 professional boxing matches, right? He knocks him out in one round. I don't care if he was old, I don't care any of that. He stops him in one round and then steps in and faces Michael Sarafa. Sarafa stops Horn. The second man to stop Horn. He stops him in the same time Crawford did, 9 rounds. I know nobody's not going to say anything like, who the fuck is Michael Sarafa? Okay, whatever. So Jeff Horn being stopped at a different weight class, he takes, I believe, he took about 4 months. Was it 4 or 5 months before he stepped back in there and rematched Sarafa and won a unanimous decision? That was the last fight he had before he stepped in there with Tszyu. I'm trying to find out, Tszyu, what was so special about this guy who's ranked number 9th? Jeff Horn was ranked number 5. I'm trying to find out what was so special people ran the raving about if he really hasn't fought anybody in the junior middleweight division. Like, how can you praise him how can people praise Tszyu for defeating Jeff Horn, but yet you're ranked in the WBO. So right now, your opponent, the champion right now, is Patrick Teixeira, right? So how can you praise Tszyu because of his father's name, because he went in there and stopped Jeff Horn in 8 rounds, but you don't give Crawford any credit when he went in there. How does that all add up again? How the fuck are we supposed to sit up here and say, that makes sense? How does it all make sense? Hey, we back. So as I was saying about the Horn situation, Crawford finished Jeff Horn via knockout. Tszyu, in a different weight class, finishes Horn, and it's credibility. Right now, they're saying, okay, he's the son of Costa Tszyu. We give him credit for stopping Jeff Horn. Then turn around, Crawford, he moves up, right? He becomes the number 1. He faces Jeff Horn and knocks him out. He gets no credit for Jeff Horn. He gets no credit for moving up from being undisputed from 140. I'm just calling it as I see it. He moves up, gets no credit for stepping in there first fight at the welterweight division, and he stops Jeff Horn, who won the decision over Manny Pacquiao. But then again, Jeff Horn goes about his business, man, and move up division and meets Tim Tszyu several fights later, and he stops Jeff Horn, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, Tszyu's for real." This was his coming up. This was his coming out fight. But you want to give Tszyu credit for Horn, but you're gonna discredit Crawford when Horn defeated Pacquiao at welterweight. But yet you're gonna give Tim Tszyu credit because of who his father is. That's not even fair. That doesn't even make any sense. It's not supposed to make sense, except if you're a temporary. If you're a temporary, you're gonna say, "Oh, well, that makes sense to me." Tszyu has a bigger name. Tszyu doesn't have a bigger name than Terrence Crawford. His daddy's not in there fighting anymore. Tszyu doesn't have a name. Regardless, he's undefeated, 16-0, 12 knockouts. He doesn't have his name and his identity yet. And especially, you cannot give him that identity off of Jeff Horn. You cannot do it because he's been stopped before. When you have a fighter who losses or stoppages, then you need to sit here and think, is it really that special in what Tim Tszyu was able to do? Him stopping Jeff Horn in 8, is it really that special? Is it really that special? But seriously, is it truly that special if he was able to get the stoppage and Jeff Horn's been stopped before? So how y'all gonna sit up here and dilute Crawford for stopping Horn, but yet you want to broadcast it that Tim Tszyu went in there and stopped Horn in a different weight division? You can't sit up here and be that biased and say, yeah, we have merit to do that. And I'm going to preface it with this. You can't preface it with shit because it doesn't make any sense that you're gonna give Tszyu all that highlight just because his dad. Seriously, you can't do that, man. All you have to do is listen, JC. You're talking about why I'm putting Tszyu in the same sentence as Crawford, because they have common opponent. COMMON, common opponent. The common opponent in Crawford and Tszyu is freaking Jeff Horn. People wants to diminish and dilute Crawford beating Jeff Horn, who beat Manny Pacquiao, but they want to highlight and praise Tim Tszyu for going in there and stopping Jeff Horn. Is he a big commodity in boxing, or is he not? Which one is it going to be? If he is, then when his name pops up with Terrence Crawford, they should just sit up here and give him the same accolade. Say, oh, okay, he beat Jeff Horn. Not when Tim Tszyu defeated him. You know what I'm saying? That's not when you give a man praise. Crawford was the first to stop him. Horn was undefeated. Tim Tszyu was able to get him after he's been stopped twice. What's the big deal? How can the temporaries sit up here and say, well, we need to give all these accolades to Tim Tszyu because of who his father is? It doesn't make any sense. It absolutely doesn't make any sense at all. None whatsoever. None whatsoever, man. Period. And you know, look at Tszyu when he lost to Crawford. I'm not Tszyu. Look at Horn when he lost to Crawford, right? He lost to Crawford. I think their fight, Crawford fight, was like June 9th, 2018. Crawford and Horn, right? Horn lost that fight via stoppage. And I think 5 months later, he fought November 30th, I believe. He fought his next opponent at a higher weight class, only 5 months later. And he went in there and knocked them out. 5 months. He made the decision, commit, boom, move up, let's go. 5 months later, November 30th. He gets stopped. He returned 5 months later in a higher weight division and keep it moving. But yet, you know, Manny Pacquiao, oh man, he really won that fight. So if he really won that fight, why didn't he win? If he really truly won that fight with Jeff Horn, why a 8th division, a boxing legend, a future Hall of Famer, why wasn't he able to get the win? Definitively. You know, the judges just go across the board. Manny Pacquiao is the only one 8th division champion. Guess what? We're going to give him this victory. He deserved it. Let's go. No, Jeff Horn. What was Jeff Horn going? Was there anybody out there that's going to raise Jeff Horn up to this pedestal? That's all I'm saying. What was planned for Jeff Horn? Really hardly anything. So what benefit would they have to screw Pac over? It don't matter where the fight was. People like saying, oh, the fight was in this particular place right here. Manny Pacquiao is a global superstar. He's a Filipino legend. A Filipino legend. Come on, man. Come on, man. It don't matter where the fight was. Why did Manny Pacquiao, why didn't he win that fight? So Jeff Horn took the win, right? And then he defended it once and then stepped in there with Crawford. He got stopped. So with that stoppage, we shouldn't hear that we just gonna, every time Jeff Horn name come up, Crawford ain't fought nobody. You know what I'm saying? Crawford ain't fought nobody. It has to come a point in time where the temporaries has to stop linking fighters to one fighter in their whole entire resume. No matter how far they go up the ladder, we need to stop linking up fighters to one fighter that they lost. Hey, they lost to so-and-so 5 years ago, but they can be undefeated all the way up to now. It's unfair, man. It makes no sense. It's idiotic. It's stupid to link one fighter to a loss that they had several years ago. You can't sit up here and take an undefeated fighter and say, well, Gamboa wasn't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Jeff Horn wasn't nothing. Isn't it all about how you go up here and build up your credentials, your resume is everything. So what I'm gathering for quite a long time now is the boxing fans, when it comes down to it, are never going to be satisfied. Never. You're never going to be satisfied. You're not going to give the fighters like Roy Jones, James Toney. You're not going to give them their just due for being some of the best fighters in the sport. You're never going to give them the credit because you're going to look back to who they lost to. Oh, Roy Jones beat him. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Roy Jones, he lost to Tony Charles. It's always going to be a fighter that you link them up to instead of just looking at who they beat, how they won, and where they should be in the boxing Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? You can't just keep on saying, well, so-and-so did this. Of course. Are you going to talk about Muhammad Ali and Leon Spinks? Are you going to keep on talking about Muhammad Ali beat George Foreman, but who else did George Foreman? You know what I'm saying? They want to give George Foreman this freaking pass because he came back from a hiatus, admitted to being in deep depression and stuff after losing. Muhammad Ali was able to go in there and perform the way he did against fighters that George Foreman beat. But yet George Foreman performed the way he did, and he felt he was a stronger fighter. He can go in there and beat Ali because he thought he did it better, and he goes in there and gets stopped by Ali. But yet, they link him up to coming back fighting Michael Moore at 45 years old and picking up the heavyweight title. They don't link him up to what he did in the past in boxing. Muhammad Ali fighting a 7-0 Spinks. How can you fight a 7-0 Spinks, lose? Why is he even getting a shot and you almost at the end of your career? Spinks shouldn't have got a shot, but he got a shot because Muhammad Ali wanted to be 3-time heavyweight champion. So he got the shot and then he took the belt back. Same thing Anthony Joshua did with Andy Ruiz, except different resumes, different records, different circumstances. I'm just saying, Muhammad Ali went over there and got his belt back, and then he lost his next fight after that. But why give a man 7-0 a shot? Why? It makes no sense at all. So y'all need to make up your mind what y'all gonna do with Jeff Horn and Crawford, man. And Tszyu. Don't be boosting these neighboring fighters up, man. Stop boosting these neighboring fighters up and then dogging them the ones that's right here in your nesting bed. Stop doing that shit, man. They make us look crazy out this motherfucker. Like, we got boxing. We've had boxing cultivating in this garden for so long. But yet we dog the fuck out of our fighters and always say, well, what has he done? What has so-and-so done? What has he done? But yet you're not going to ever get somebody with a perfect resume. They say Danny Garcia has a pretty good resume, right? But he's a cherry picker. Danny Garcia is a cherry picker. But Danny Garcia has one of the best resumes out there. He has a good resume. Now you have Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. So they've made the choice, right? Whoever it is, whatever lips are cracking, right? They want to say Errol Spence is the best welterweight. But if Errol Spence is the best welterweight, why isn't he above Terrence Crawford on the pound for pound list? It makes no sense at all that no one else can see. Yeah, they do see it. Even the people who's placing these fighters on the pound for pound list understands what is going on. If the Ring magazine has Terrence Crawford 4 and they have Errol Spence at 6, isn't that two different placeholders? Isn't that two different placeholders? If you're going to dog Bud Crawford out and say he hasn't did anything, he's a 3-division former undisputed, but yet you say Errol Spence is the best welterweight. So which one is it? Terrence Crawford is ahead of Errol Spence on the pound for pound list. Either one, you're going to say the pound for pound list don't mean shit. We don't really care about it. Because every time I hear Bud this, Bud that, no wonder he don't talk to press. You know what I'm saying? No wonder he don't talk to press. I'm not, I'm just a typical media. I'm a media guy. I'm saying? Like when it comes down to it, you're going to say Bud ain't shit, but yet he ahead of Errol Spence on the pound for pound list. But you'll turn around and say Errol Spence is the best welterweight based off him going over there fighting Kell Brook and him defeating Sean Porter. I get where you coming from, but Bud Crawford has been in he's been in other divisions as a champion up to the welterweight division as a champion. Of course, his resume at welterweight should not supersede that of Errol Spence. But on the pound for pound list, he's there because of his other divisions. He's not just there because he beat Jeff Horn, because when it comes down to y'all, Jeff Horn ain't nobody. Jeff Horn ain't beat nobody. Who is fuck is Jeff Horn? But to Crawford, he is a 3-division champion. That's where he's at. He stepped up and he did the same exact thing Mikey Garcia did, but he was able to get the belt. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, well, if you want to put Mikey Garcia in there, he stepped up to better competition. Errol Spence is way better competition. It was way better competition than Jeff Horn. True. Mikey Garcia chose to come up 2 divisions and take that challenge with Errol Spence because he had his optics on. He saw something. Isn't that what Mikey Garcia said? I see something. I feel I'm better than Errol Spence in a lot of areas. And Errol's, man, look, EJ up there like, okay, Shouty. All right, man. Okay, I'm going to have to show you. And he went out there in his lopsided fight. And Errol even said himself, he made it tough because he had to drop all that weight to come in there for the freaking Sean Porter fight, right? So you can only imagine the weight he dropped to come in there for the Mikey Garcia fight. I mean, check this out. He just didn't start ballooning up in weight after the Mikey Garcia fight. No, he's doing that shit. He just admitted it after the Sean Porter fight that he made it hard on himself. And he probably made it hard on himself for the Mikey Garcia fight because he had to cut weight all the way back down to 147. Coco the Don in the building. Be sure you check out Coco the Don boxing channel, man. Salute to you. What's going on, SB90? What's good with you, bro? Appreciate you stopping through. Media, sources, those of us who goes out here and read sources. There's no need to sit up here and provide an exact source when there's several sources. This is PR. PR is public record. You know, in some cases, public relations, but in this case, dealing with media, it's public record. It's public record. So if you're going to dilute Terrence Crawford because you have to compare two of the superstars in the sport, and yes, Terrence Crawford is still a superstar, regardless if he's trying to find his next fight. Regardless of whatever you say, it's a reason why you want him to fight Errol Spence, and it's a reason why Errol Spence you want him to fight Bud Crawford. Terrence Crawford didn't go out there and get behind the wheel. He didn't get behind the wheel and have a situation. He didn't. It's not his culpability that he should sit there, even though, he's in between of it. He's in between, and it's been on record saying that Crawford said he wants the best Errol Spence. So Errol Spence coming back from his accident, God bless, to fight Danny Garcia, which a lot of ways people saying stylistically he match up nice. So he goes in here and show the world how he looks against Danny Garcia, so we can actually see if everything is 100%. Is he able to go in here and give us a better performance than what we've seen with Sean Porter? That's what we want to see. Is it possible for him to go in here and stop Danny Garcia? Can we see an Errol Spence that supersedes the performance that he was able to put out against Sean Porter when he steps in there with Danny Garcia? Is it possible, coming off a car accident, that we see a more refocused Errol Spence in the welterweight division. I'm telling you, if he goes in here and drop Danny Garcia, if he goes in there and put Danny Garcia in any type of adversity that no one before him has been able to do, it's really going to boost up the stock of Errol Spence. It's really going to take his level of notoriety in the welterweight division to a whole nother platform. People are going to be like, man, you saw what he was able to do with Danny Garcia? That shit was unfreaking believable, coming back from an accident and perform the way he did in Danny Garcia. So now the pressure is really going to be on with that with Terrence Crawford. But what y'all need to understand right now on the pound for pound list, Terrence Crawford is still ahead of EJ. Terrence Crawford entire record, we're talking about his resume, his ledger, is a 3-division champion, just like Adrian Broner is a 4-division champion. Who gives a fuck who was vacated and all that? Boxing will always have people fighting for vacated titles. Just like Vasily Lomachenko fought for the vacant. It's always going to be like that. You should know that, right? It's not hard to understand. That is not hard to understand. 3 divisions trumps 1 division right now in the welterweight division. 3-division champion trumps a single division, multi-time world champion. Yeah, he's the IBF and WBC, but when it comes down to it, what Terrence Crawford has accomplished in his career trumps Errol Spence. It was a long time people were saying, well, who is Errol Spence's fault? Who is EJ fault? When he just had the IBF title, who has he fought? Because here we go once again. It's all about popularity, right? You take the process, you take the point that Errol Spence went over there and fought Kell Brook, who went up in weight, got battered by Triple G, came back down, and people was giving Errol Spence partial credit because they felt like Triple G had already fragmented the shit out of freaking Kell Brook and gave Errol Spence the leftovers at a lower division. And look, this is how crazy the boxing analytics can get when they're distorted. In my opinion, Kell Brook was winning the fight until he got stopped. EJ was behind in that fight. So which one is it going to be? Did Triple G take Kell Brook's soul enough to the point where, you're going to get partial credit for EJ? Or should we say Kell Brook was just fine? He was given a good account of himself in there against Errol Spence. And then we need to praise Errol Spence for standing in the battle and winning the war. We need to praise Errol Spence for showing that he got that dog. We need to praise him because he went in there and stuck to the course of action, and he was able to get the job done and get the stoppage and pick up that belt in that man's backyard. We need to praise him for that, y'all. You got to praise him for that. That situation is almost, that's similar to what I'm getting at. Like, if you're going to say Kell Brook wasn't shit, and people's like, okay, now Errol Spence got a title. Okay. He has a title now, right? Errol Spence has a title. People's like, well, Kell Brook got demolished by Triple G. Okay. So it took a while before people was like, well, we can't give Errol Spence credit. We just can't do it right now. Then when he stepped in there with Sean Porter, 2-time champion, he stepped in there with Sean Porter, and he was able to perform the way he was and end up getting a knockdown in a close fight. Take away the knockdown, you either get a draw or you have it in favor of Sean Porter. Seriously, you get a draw or it's in favor of Sean Porter. He goes in there and performed in an epic FOTY. And, we already know what happened after that. But that right there, that fight just recently has catapulted Errol Spence to another, platform, another freaking level of popularity. But then we must also look back again it didn't move him on the pound for pound list. It did not move him on the pound for pound list, y'all. This is how I'm gonna break this shit down again. I'll give you another one. So if undisputed don't mean shit, listen to me. If undisputed don't mean shit when it comes to Terrence Crawford, why does it mean shit for Alexander Usyk, who's moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight? Oh, just because it's a heavier division? No, get at me. I mean, if I'm saying, drop shit in the live chat, let me know. If by chance the unification doesn't mean shit, why is Alexander Usyk ahead of Errol Spence on the pound for pound list? Why? Why does Alexander Usyk, who unified the cruiserweight, get all this prestige to move up there to the heavyweight division, face a soft touch like Chase Witherspoon, and now, from my understanding, his next opponent is going to be Derek Chisora? Great. I like War. I like Derek Chisora. Even though he kind of has that Dillian Whyte mentality, don't fuck with him. Chisora is on a whole nother fucking level when it comes to Maniac. You know what I'm saying? But from my understanding, he's supposed to step in there, and this is going to prove a lot about where Alexander Usyk is at in the heavyweight division. But back to my point, if unification don't fucking matter, why is it mattering for Usyk and not Crawford? Because a lot of us will say, well, cruiserweight is somewhat similar to what we're talking about with 140, the junior welterweight division. They're similar similar divisions, similar dense orientation here of quality opponents, period. We can say, it's no way we can tell me who the fuck that he defeated when he was up in cruiserweight. Discreet that. And then you go down here and say, Julio Sindongo wasn't anything. People say, oh, Julio Sindongo wasn't anything. How can you say that, though? So you take a cruiserweight division and you take the junior welterweight division. Once again, make a commitment. Because how in the hell Crawford is ahead of EJ if you're saying EJ is the number one welterweight? Because they're not basing their entire pound for pound off one division. They're basing it off resume and what you have accumulated in the sport of boxing. Just like Manny Pacquiao. In the ring, Manny Pacquiao sitting at number 10, y'all. How many losses do Manny Pacquiao have? How many losses? Even Canelo Alvarez has one loss, and he's sitting at the top of pound for pound list. Vasily Lomachenko has one loss. He's sitting 1 and 2. I mean, he's sitting up there right behind the number one guy. And then you come a Nui at the bantamweight. He has no losses. Unified. Then comes Terrence Crawford. And number 5, Alexander Usyk. Number 6, Errol Spence. Oh, and by the way, don't let this shock you. Gennady Golovkin, who has a loss on his record and a draw, he's sitting at number 7. And then comes a guy you may not know at number 8, Juan Estrada, super flyweight, has 3 losses. He's sitting at number 8. Number 9 is Arthur Beterbiev, which I'm looking forward to him fighting, but he has a crazy record of 15-0, 15 knockouts. And button up the number 10 is Manny Pacquiao. So you tell me how does the fuck did that work? Like, tell me how we supposed to exclude the fact that Bud Crawford unified at 140 in the division that you're saying, well, the QOP wasn't all that. The quality of the quality of the playlist down there, it wasn't all that. And then the quality of playlist up here, the cruiserweight, wasn't all that. But yeah, Alexander used to get all the credit for moving up the heavyweight and fighting a soft touch when Terrence Crawford moved up from junior welterweight and faced the champion. The same thing Mikey Garcia attempted to do. He tried to move up from 35 to 47 and face the best in the division. Came up unsuccessful. So which one is it going to be, man? That's all I'm saying, boxing fans. Which What are you going to go with this? Are you going to make a commitment to go across and thread all this shit, crochet this motherfucker together without saying, no, I don't want to use that right there? You have to crochet all this shit together, man. Boxing is too big. It's been around too long. And when I hear, individuals saying, well, Keith Thurman all of a sudden comes out the blue and offer Terrence Crawford 10 mil, and Terrence Crawford, he should just go up here and appease Keith Thurman because it's Keith Thurman. Because it's Keith Thurman who's coming off a loss. He should just appease. He looked bad against Josecito Lopez. He looked bad. Then he went in there and looked bad against Manny Pacquiao. But all of a sudden, he's rejuvenated, y'all. He want to come back and call up Terrence Crawford because, look, he's seeing everybody in media is going at Terrence Crawford's neck. So now Keith Thurman comes over here and puts a $10 million deal. Is he worth $10 million? Okay, he could be worth somewhere close to that, right? But at Keith Thurman's career right now, what should he do? If Arum is telling you all where the money is coming, where's the money coming from? They're making these outrages off of where the money's coming from. But to the media, you put it out here to the media and people run with it. Well, Keith Thurman offered $10 million. They didn't hear shit back from Bud them. It's official because Bob Arum spoke on it in the media, right? So just because Bob Arum spoke on something doesn't mean nothing. It's just the fact that we can confirm that the offer was made. That's all we can do. We can confirm that the offer was made. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Make sure you hit the like button, man. We can confirm that shit. That's all. But it's not that I don't understand why people are coming at board, but they're making you have certain media outlets that their primary segue is to push a narrative that's out there. As you notice, when it comes to favorite fighters, they'll pick and choose. If they're both black fighters, they'll pick and choose one of them. Who do I want to support? Who's done more? And then they make the commitment to choose that particular fighter and they go with it. In the process of choosing that fighter that they're committed to, they dog out the other fighter in order to highlight and praise this particular fighter over here. It's not cooning. It's none of that shit. It's basically keeping it straight down the middle, a dichotomized opinion about what is being witnessed out here, period. So you dog out Terrence Crawford to further elevate Errol Spence. But yeah, Errol Spence is a multi-time champion in a single division where you have Terrence Crawford, who's actually been a recipient of unifying an entire division. And he is officially a 3-division champion, just like Vasily Lomachenko. 3-division champion, the same one who freaking vacated his WBC title, who he fought for the vacant title against Luke Campbell, an Olympian, vacated it because he didn't want to face Devin Haney. He wanted to go up here and be franchise belt, but no one's sitting up here saying, hey, so what? So what, he a 3-division champion? He ain't did shit. 14-1 now, and this man sits number 2 at the pound for pound list, but I don't think he's getting that type of energy that Crawford's getting. This man tried to come in here and compete for a title with his second professional fight. He tried to compete for a title. Salido shut that shit down. Then his third professional fight, he goes in there and he's able to fight for a vacant title. A vacant title, y'all. A vacant freaking title. He didn't defeat a champion. He competed for a vacant title. Why you not sitting up here discrediting Vasily Lomachenko? Why is it people look at, oh man, he's a 2-time Olympian? What does that have to do with anything? We understand that. Put that to bed and talk about his professional career. Stop bringing up Rigondeaux. Don't want to hear Rigondeaux. We really don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to hear Nicholas Walters. We don't want to hear none of that. We don't want to hear the Linares. We don't want to hear Pedraza, because it's not like he did anything to Linares no one else's did. Linares has stopped twice already before he stepped in there with Vasily Lomachenko. And what? Miguel Mariaga touched Vasily up. But my point is the vacancy. Like, why aren't y'all going at Vasily Lomachenko, a 3-division champion, just like y'all going at Crawford? Because the last time I checked, who was champion before? Who's the WBA champion? Who's the WBO champion before Vasily Lomachenko at lightweight? Who? How did that work? Vasily Lomachenko had time to prove to all of us, holding the WBC, WBA, and WBO titles. All he had to do was wait and fight Teofimo Lopez, because he was the winner of the Richard Comey Lopez fight, right? To fight for all the marbles and be legitimate, official, undisputed lightweight champion. That's all Vasily had to do. 2-time Olympian, worked his way up, however he did it. Now he's at the climactic point of unifying his first division, undisputed. All he has to do is wait for Teofimo Lopez. Boom, it happens. Let's make this fight at the end of the year. Nope. What'd he do? He sits up here and requests to be franchised. He is more worried about sitting on a different type of throne where he don't have to face mandatories. Because you know why he did that? Because he's at a point in his career where he want to be selective and pick and choose who he wants to fight. So if he's going to campaign at 35 and 30, what better division, the hottest division, to be a franchise champion at than 35? Because you can say, fuck your mandatories. No, I ain't got to. I'm franchised. No, I ain't got to fight you. Now you have opponents that are worthy of a shot at Vasily, that's in the position, and he can say, I don't have to fight him because he vacated the WBC. So now, two things, right? If I'm going for Teofimo Lopez, first of all, but let's just say Vasily Lomachenko wins. All right. He becomes undisputed via the new Fathom potato chip, freaking standard operating procedures of the WBC friendship title, right? You get a bag of chips with it. Just say he defeats Teofimo and become undisputed. Is he going to give Devin Haney a shot? Is he going to turn around and say, you know what? Hey, Bill, tell your people, let's get together and let's go. He's a super title holder. Let's go. It's time. Let's go. Who do you believe out of the two would give Devin Haney a shot first? Vasily Lomachenko, who's already been in the pond swimming with webbed feet. He's pretty fast. Yeah, he was fast. He's a quick diver. Vasily Lomachenko got off that WBC belt quick. So, man, he's a quick draw. Real talk. Or do you believe Teofimo Lopez will be eager to give Devin Haney a shot if he picks up the franchise belt and becomes the unified championship and per Suleiman's SOP is the undisputed title holder? Will he do it? Will he say, fuck it? Let me go to the hardest fight after this. Let me go to the hardest motherfucking fight after this. Devin Haney. Let's go. That's all I'm saying. Who do you believe out of the two in one of the hottest divisions in boxing would give Devin Haney a shot? Because he should be the next in line for whoever wins. But since Lomachenko has ducked Devin Haney already, do you believe he's going to have a change of heart and say, you know what? I fucked up behind closed doors. I fucked up. I vacated the title. I really should have fought Devin Haney and see where I was in the 35 division. But if I did, they might have fucked up what I had planned in the 35 division. Do you think Lomachenko will have a change of heart and say, let me give Haney a shot? Or do you feel that Teofimo Lopez, who's going to basically, if he wins, he will become the lightweight franchise champion? So the conflict and distortion will come into play if Vasily Lomachenko, who's currently the franchise champion, what happens to his belt? He can't lose it. Does he still have any clout? Does Vasily Lomachenko still have any clout? Because Suleiman has said you cannot lose the franchise belt. So now that if Teofimo Lopez wins the franchise belt along with the other 3 that he has in collection, what are we going to see? What's going to happen? Is it Teofimo Lopez who will step up to the plate? Because the WBC Super title means something. It is a part of history. That is one of the coveted bodies, the Super title, not the friendship title, the Super title. That is part of the quartet of the sanctioning bodies. That means if you get all those belts in this day and time, you consider undisputed. So therefore, one of those 2 individuals should absolutely have Devin Haney on their list to give him a shot at becoming undisputed at 35. It's fair. It's fair play. It's right. Best fight the best. It would do good numbers. It would be unbelievable fight. And you couldn't ask for 2 better opponents. Either way you go, Lomachenko or Teofimo Lopez. You can't say, Vasily Lomachenko is not, no. He's going to be just as hot as y'all have him now if he wins and then face Devin Haney. And just as Teofimo Lopez, he wins, he's going to be, elevated another notch up. And hopefully he shocks the world and say, you know what? I hear people talking about it. I don't know what Teo, man. I don't know, to be honest. The way he's been talking, about journalists and shit and getting mad and bent out of shape about the way we was tearing into Rolly in a robbery. Yeah, Rolly in a robbery. Rolly in a robbery. I say Rolly in a robbery. Yeah. Teo felt some type of way. You know what I'm saying? And it's true that Rolly was in a robbery, right? But will he do what we want, what is right, and say, I need to fight one person and one person only right now? It's not Gervonta Davis. It is Devin Haney. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts, cut and dry, straight to the point. Man, shock us. Because boxing always have the, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go over this way. And then Haney up there like, man, this nigga here just ducked me. Then they have to think about, you know what? Fuck them. Let's get this next fight up and go up to 140. If Teofimo Lopez wins and don't give Devin Haney a shot, that would be a disappointment and absolutely an avoidance. That would be absolutely avoidance. He needs to give Devin Haney that shot if he wins. It's only right. It's only right. And y'all boxing heads, the hardcore boxing heads, the mainstreamers and everything, you totally understand. Don't come with this, well, Teofimo, that's the first, division that he was able to become undisputed, so to speak. But then when the hardcore, boxing heads get together, they're going to say, you know what? Fuck that friendship title with Ranch. He needs the super title to the cachet to be legit. So right now we're looking for the legit freaking undisputed title. And right now you cannot be the legit title holder to the claim of undisputed unless you face Devin Haney next door. You can't do it. You can't sit up here and say you are the undisputed without going over here and fighting Devin Haney. I'm going to leave that like that, period. I think I've pretty much hit that that nail on the head enough, y'all totally understand where I'm at with it. Just like y'all understand where I am with Dillian Whyte. All right. You know, shouldn't get a rematch. But if it's going to happen, okay, so be it. But Alexander Povetkin, at his point in his career, he should be thinking about this right here. Who can I fight next to get that money? You can't say Dillian Whyte's name is all the way up here, and Dillian Whyte hasn't even achieved world champion yet. So you can't say he's all the way up here, and that's going to be his biggest paycheck. You know, Alexander Povetkin, he can still get some money. He's been in there with some heavy hitters. Klitschko, Joshua, Manuel Char, all them people. Was he in there with Robert Helenius? The same Robert Helenius who stepped in there with Andy Konoski and stopped him? Absolutely, bro. But the main heavy hitter is going to be Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. I really hope that happened in 2020. And yes, I definitely have my money on the Bronze Bomber coming back in there and handling business, period. You know, that's the way it needs to be. Tyson, what's good? Alexander, what's up with you? What's good? TC, probably Loma cause Tszyu may be moving up after this fight. Probably Loma cause Tszyu may be moving up. No, Tszyu said that, you know, he wins. He's gonna stay down in 35 and, you know, collect some checks. He's gonna defend his title. You know, he's kind of made that clear that initially they was gonna move up, but if he wins the title, he's gonna hang out. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we at with that. But the Alexander Usyk, Derek Chisora, yeah, they scheduled to, you know, step in the ring together. All right. The Nathan Gallimore fight and Sebastian Fundora, I was disappointed in that. I just thought Nathaniel Gallimore, a fighter who hasn't been stopped before. Come on. A fighter who hasn't been stopped before. Daniel Lewis had a better go than Gallimore. Jamonte Clark defeated Sebastian, period. Sebastian should have a 1 on his record right now in the loss column because Clark fought a masterful strategy and going in there with Fundora. Daniel Lewis, he was able to land some good, memorable shots on Fundora, being only 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. He was able to land more than Nathaniel Gallimore even came close to. But I was saying to myself, damn, he's being lit up on the inside. You know, the first round, that no-look hook, it was working. He wasn't telegraphing anything. It was working. But Fundora made adjustments. And Fundora, being the towering inferno, was able to see everything that was going on with the top of freaking Nathaniel Gallimore's head, being his chin was tucked. And he knew, hey, does he really see where the punches are coming from? So he just starts stepping back and sending that uppercut. Pop! You know? And he broke him down. Almost the same way he did Donnie Marshall. Broke him down. But I seriously thought Gallimore had the grit. He had the sustainability to go in there and really give Sebastian Fundora a run and take that O away. Seriously, I thought Gallimore was the man to do it. Seriously, I thought he was the man to do it. And why Jamonte Clark hasn't came back up to fight Fundora again, they probably don't want the fight. They probably don't want that Jamonte Clark fight. Seriously. I'm not sure why we couldn't. We know the fight was close. You got to draw. Why don't you come back and do it again? They raising him up to be this, you know, this next big deal. Why didn't you rematch one of your toughest fights in Clark? And then lastly, on boxing, Joe Smith. Listen. And shout out to Clay Collard, man. Clay Collard went in there and stopped his opponent. And that man has had like three or four fights in 4 months or something like that. Crazy. But Joe Smith, the way he fights, man. Joe Smith is one of them hard-nosed fighters, dog. Like, you really have to bite down and make him respect you, man. Joe Smith had Jess Hart return to the ring and say, I'm in here for the honor of my boy B-Hop. And what happened? Loses. He gave a good account of himself. You know what I'm saying? All right. But what did he do to B-Hop? What did we just see him do to Alida Alvarez? He broke Alvarez down, man. Punished him. I like the way Joe Smith fight, man. Seriously. I like the way this guy fights. He has one of them old school retro throwback. He's basically standing in the pocket. You know, he's not brawling, but he considered a bruiser a little bit. He'll stay there in the pocket and he want to stay close and make you respect what he's giving you. He say, okay, I dare you to do something about it. He's going to stay there and punish. Hey, we back. So I appreciate everybody who stopped through in the live chat on YouTube and those who are tuned in via Facebook. Appreciate you for stopping through, supporting World Combat Sports Media. Not everything I say you have to agree with. That's not what I'm here for. But it's my OP, just like you have yours. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's basically, you know, I want to end the boxing with, you know, Joe Smith, man. Look forward to him, you know, in his return. Very entertaining fighter. You know, I'm looking forward to his next fight when he get that championship fight. And, you know, believe it or not, the WBO championship is freaking vacant. So we're probably going to see Joe Smith fight for that vacant WBO title. You know what I'm saying? I can't see him fighting another champion right now. If he's currently, you know, pulling up the ladder in the WBO. So we should see him, you know, fight for the title, the vacant title in the WBO. That's what we should see. Now, switching over, since it's an open mic, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to talk about mixed martial arts and the UFC and what's going on in the makeup, you know, cross promotions. Dana White has never really been a guy. He's the president of the UFC, right? He's been there since the test of time, since the inception. So therefore, Dana White has never really gotten involved in like who's better than who. Dana White doesn't train full time. He hasn't competed. But now it's getting to a point where you have fighters in Bellator and you have fighters in UFC. It's not at a point where you're just going to say, well, the Bellator has all the retreads that came over from the UFC. That's not true. There are sprinkles of fighters that have transferred from the UFC over to Bellator. But Bellator is a legitimate organization, a legitimate promotion that also promotes mixed martial arts, just like the UFC. The UFC is considered the highest platform because, the inception of it, the start, and what it's been able to do over time. But right now, the promotions, Scott Coker, who's over head of Bellator, he basically said, he had his light heavyweight division is better than UFC's. But what we need as fans is to understand that it's about time that we start setting up some super fights. It's about time that we start setting up some cross-threading of Bellator UFC. Seriously, that would generate a hell of a lot of money. I would love to see my boy Douglas Lima, welterweight champion, go over here and fight Kamaru Usman, welterweight champion in the UFC. Absolutely. Douglas Lima is a beast. He's a beast. That would be good to see. But, he's trying to challenge for the middleweight title, Gegard Mousasi in Bellator. But, over in the UFC, we have Kamaru Usman. I'm not sure if that would be something he would want to do. They actually showing a picture of Kamaru Usman and Douglas Lima, and Douglas looked like he was a weight class above Kamaru Usman. I know you have wrestler versus Muay Thai or BJJ. The stylistically, it will be a good matchup. But I can tell you right now, the leg kicks of Douglas Lima is probably the hardest in the business right now. Seriously, his right leg is headstones. Did you see what happened with him and Rory McDonald? Did you see what happened when he kicked Michael Venom Page out when he was blitzing? Execute a low calf kick, knocked him down, then shot the right uppercut, put him to sleep. A lot is going on in mixed martial arts, man. Changing of the guard, so to speak. It is. It's a changing of the guard, especially in UFC. I want to talk about the top pound for pound list and how important it is with the changing of the guard. Believe me, we have the changing of the guard, people. The changing of the guard from either of the Conor McGregors. And you're saying, how can Conor McGregor be the changing of the guard? It's happening. From Conor McGregor to Max Holloway. That's a changing of the guard. From Tyrone Woodley to the Robert Whitakers. Changing of the guard from John Jones, moving up, vacating his title, moving up. So on the men's side of the house, the pound for pound list is like this. Let's go to the pound for pound list on the male side, right? Number one is John Jones. You say, how can John Jones be number one and, he vacated his title? Well, he is. He's considered the GOAT, right? So you got number one, John Jones. Number two is Khabib, sitting at 28-0 lightweight champion. And we're going to get back to Khabib. Shout out, rest in peace to his father who passed. They had an extensive history in combat sports, him and his pops. But his dad, passed away recently. He's number two. Three is Stipe Miocic, the same Stipe Miocic that came off winning the trilogy with Daniel Cormier. All right. Number four, Israel Adesanya, the current middleweight champion. Number five, Kamaru Usman, the current welterweight champion at 170. Number six used to be Daniel Cormier, but now is Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champion. He's number six. Number seven is Daniel Cormier. And I'm going to come back to this because I'm like, how? How is DC number seven? Number eight, of all people, Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is number eight. He's the interim lightweight champion. The interim. Before, Justin Gaethje was number 10 in the last pound for pound list. Justin Gaethje was sitting at number 10, right at number 10. But since he stepped in there and defeated Tony Ferguson, I'm talking about an action-packed firefight. They moved him up to number 8. Number 9, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier on the last pound for pound list was number 9. Dustin Poirier was once the interim lightweight champion. He went in there and fought Khabib and lost. He was subbed out the same way Conor McGregor was. Number 10, Max Holloway, the former featherweight champion who fought Volkanovski recently and lost to him twice. But Max Holloway did defend his title. You know what I'm saying? Number 11, I really don't know how. Conor McGregor. 11 is Conor McGregor, the guy who made over $100 million leaving the sport of mixed martial arts over to fight the best in the game, Money Mayweather. Picked up a huge check, came back over, took him forever. But anyway, we'll get back to that. Number 11 is Conor McGregor. Number 12 is Peter Yan. Peter Yan, however you want to call it. He's currently the bantamweight champion. Finally, officially, Peter Yan is the bantamweight champion. He defeated Jose Aldo. 13, Davison Figueiredo. If you didn't know, now you know. He is the successor. You know what I'm saying? The Henry Cejudo vacating the title. Henry Cejudo was the successor to Demetrius Johnson. He actually defeated Demetrius Johnson, considered one of the GOATs of mixed martial arts in the UFC, defending his title 11 times. So Henry Cejudo was to come back from a first loss and defeat Demetrius Johnson. And then he vacates after he defeats Dominic Cruz at bantamweight, after knocking out TJ Dillashaw. Then Joseph Benavidez, who's been in the position, he got cut open, lost the fight. But guess what? Figueiredo, he didn't pick up the damn title because he missed it on the scales. So they came back for a rematch. He got it done this time, stopped him again. 14 is Robert Whittaker, and 15 is Tony Ferguson. Now let's go through this list just a little bit on the changing of the guard. Now, if you know how many divisions it is on the male side of the house, you go from flyweight all the way up to heavyweight, right? So you got flyweight, bantamweight, right? Stick with me. Featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavy, and heavy, right? No atom weight. They haven't kind of fudged that one division in between 155 and 170. You know what I'm saying? Which would be pretty good for the sport, but it hasn't happened yet. So from my understanding, they have 8 male divisions in mixed martial arts in the UFC, right? So let's look at it this way. John Jones, I'm glad he's vacating. And we're going to get to why I mentioned how many divisions it is in the UFC right now, comparable to the women. So John Jones, he vacates his title, man. He allows his competitors, because he's beat damn near all of them. He beat Anthony Smith, he beat Thiago Santos, and he defeated Dominic Reyes as of recently. So him vacating his title allows Dominic Reyes, his last opponent he's defeated, to face Juan Blachowicz, right? I would have thought it would have been either Anthony Smith, but they said no. He was beat down in his last fight, and he's due to step back in the cage after that beat down. Or Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, he may not be healthy because when his last fight with John Jones, guess what? He tore his knee up real bad. PCL, ACL, MCL, tore it up. So Blachowicz is the one that's going to fight for the vacant title. What does this mean by the change of the guard? Because for a long time, John Jones was the one who was dominating that division. Suspension or not, he still came back and handled business, period. The only one that he hasn't fought that, from what I'm hearing, is going to be back inbound is Anthony Rumble Johnson. It doesn't mean John Jones cannot come back down from heavyweight, but John Jones more than likely is going to go up to heavyweight. Now, once again, DC was undefeated as a heavyweight coming over here, changing the guard, right? Undefeated as a heavyweight. He competed light heavyweight because his boy Cain Velasquez was competing in heavyweight. So he competed light heavyweight. In that time, his alpha was John Jones. John Jones defeated Daniel Cormier twice, but one was ruled a no contest because of him popping, right? So now that he's vacating and moving up to the heavyweight division, possibly we're going to see Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou fight for a rematch. All right. The reason why I don't say like boxing, how fighters go up to another division and automatically get a title shot, like DC, I don't think they're going to do that with Jones because of whatever reason, pay issues that's going on, pay issues. But anyway, let's get back to the topic. Francis Ngannou has been in there with Stipe and he lost. Francis Ngannou stepped in there with Derek Lewis, and it was one of the worst fights I've seen in UFC history. It ranks up there with his countrymen, Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero. Absolutely. So therefore, he may have to wait to the winner of Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic. Either way, I would like to see John Jones step in there with either one of those guys at heavyweight. At heavyweight, I'd like to see it. Khabib Nurmagomedov sits at number 2. Lightweight champion, 155. He's due to come over here and face Justin Gaethje upon his return later this year. That's going to be a very good fight. If you know anything about Justin Gaethje, man, I'm telling you, the highlight, that's exactly what Justin Gaethje is. Even when he was in the World Series of Fighting, I believe, he was over there with his battles with Luis Palomino and everybody else he fought. Dude was bad. He came over here. He had 2 all-out brawls with Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. Came up short. Rebounded on a winning streak. And his best fight to this date in the UFC is when he went in there with Tony Ferguson. His boxing was superb. Beautiful masterclass performance of Justin Gaethje going in there and getting that shit done. Beautiful. It was a bloodbath, just the way Tony Ferguson liked it. But guess what? Justin Gaethje he has that freaking cynical, demented mind too. Justin Gaethje is that guy. If you want to bleed, let's bleed. If you want to throw down, let's throw down. Let's go. I'm not worried about, getting hit in the face. That's the mentality Justin Gaethje had, but he cleaned it up a little bit. He went in there with Tony Ferguson and he boxed. He saw everything. He gave Tony Ferguson every ounce of punishment that he was asking for, and he broke him down and the fight was stopped. Tony Ferguson shaking his head. I think his nose was fucked up, and we're talking about a tough Tony Ferguson that for a long time he was the interim champion. For a long time, he was on a winning streak. I mean, yeah, it's a big win for Justin Gaethje. But this fight between him and Khabib is an animal when it comes to closing distance and his aggression and persistence with changing levels and taking his opponent down. Once he has his opponent down, he is capable of submissions, but he doesn't just rush into a submission. He wants you to taste. He wants you to taste the violence. Khabib Nurmagomedov wants you to go to a place mentally where if he can break you down by punishing you, it's more satisfying than him just going behind and sinking in a fulcrum choke or RNC and submitting you. He would rather beat you down and talk to you while he's doing it than to just go in there and sub you out. Sambo world champion. You know what I'm saying? Dude is high level on the ground. Justin Gaethje, he has a pedigree of wrestling. No one has been able to breach it. Like, we haven't really seen Justin Gaethje wrestling or his takedown defense. He's going to need that when he steps in there with Khabib. He's going to need that same boxing skills that we seen him display against Tony Ferguson. He's going to need that with Khabib. Absolutely. It's going to make for a very good fight. For me, I want to see how Justin Gaethje reacts if he is on bottom position. I want to see how he reacts to the constant pressure that Khabib puts on when he, gets someone to overly commit to throwing a punch, then he change levels, get in on the hips, and before you know it, you're on your back. I really want to see, can Justin Gaethje, frame, post up, and make it back to his feet quickly? Because it's not impossible. Alaquinta fought Khabib Nurmagomedov for the vacant title and won all 5 rounds. And when Khabib took Quinta down, guess what? Quinta got back up. It was no problem. Quinta just didn't have enough for Khabib on the feet. Tough guy was able to have, he's on the tutelage of Matt Serra. He was able to get back up, frame, and make it back to his feet. Base was good, but he just didn't have enough to put away some rounds. Anyway, number 3. Stipe Miocic coming off this win with Daniel Cormier, man, it was big. He laid claim to the heavyweight division. He is considered one of the best heavyweights to do it. And he was able to go in there and defeat Daniel Cormier. Changing of the guard, y'all. Changing of the guard. DC, changing of the guard. Stipe Miocic, he's on his last lifeline too. It's only a matter of time. Changing of the guard in the UFC. When Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture, all them cats was in there, we was like, oh man, we love seeing the Iceman coming. It's another changing of the guard that's taking place. Freaking John Bones Jones too. He's going up to heavyweight. He's going to end up fighting. And if he fights Stipe and Stipe loses, Stipe is gone. Boom, gone, changing of the guard. We'll see what happens. If he faces Francis Ngannou, he's already beat Francis. So it's all about his game plan to come up there. A lot of people want Francis Ngannou to win that title so we can see a fight between John Jones and Ngannou. Number 4, Israel Adesanya. Right now, I know a lot of people are sold and aren't sold. A lot of people are sold just for the fact that he is winning, but it's how he's winning, people. Like, it's how he's winning. I understand he defeated Robert Whittaker. I get it, but he had one of the most boringest fight against Yoel Romero. He said that he was going to be the first one to stop him. It didn't come close. It didn't come close. So now he's stepping in with Paulo Costa. Ooh, I'm telling you, if you're not a mixed martial art fan, you need to be one that night. You need to tune in for this middleweight showdown, this middleweight clash between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. You need to check it out. Both of them have common opponent in Yoel Romero. And believe me, people, matchup-wise, on paper and in the cage resume, these two link up very, very well. He's sitting at number 4. Number 5 is Kamaru Usman. He's just coming off that last-minute replacement win over Jorge Masvidal. So, therefore, if you support Kamaru Usman, cool. You know what I'm saying? He is a legitimate welterweight champion. He defeated Tyrone Woodley, who defended his title 4 times. And now Kamaru Usman is on his track of defending his title. He went in there and defended against who? Kobe Covington. Broke his jaw. Then he came back. Went in there and defended against who? Who did I just say? You tell me. Kamaru Usman went in there at a last-minute replacement and faced Game Bread. You know what I'm saying? Not a full training camp. And went in there and showed why he's a champion. I was expecting more out of Jorge Masvidal, man. I'm a Game Bread fan, man. I'm a 3-piece, with a soda. I'm cool with that. But now I want to say, well, how would Game Bread look with a full training camp? That's yet to be seen. We don't know who's Kamaru Usman is going to face next. Anyway, I'm moving on. I'm not going to give him too much. 6 is Alexander Volkanovski. Came on the scene, changing of the guard. Max Holloway was the man. Now we have Volkanovski. And people are still trying to channel in and say, who is this dude? Who is Volkanovski? So Volkanovski was able to prove that he's legit, even though some of us say that Max Holloway won the fight. But he was able to defeat Max Holloway twice. He is legitimate the featherweight champion. Period, point blank, hands down. He is sitting at number 6, where DC used to sit. All right, moving on. DC number 7 now. Why? Why is DC number 7? I'm curious. If DC is saying, "Oh, I had an eye issue, and this is my last fight," why is he still on pound for pound list? He lost. He defeated freaking Stipe Miocic, right? Because he vacated his light heavyweight title when John Jones returned to the sport. So therefore, it left him with the heavyweight title. He knocked out Stipe Miocic in 1 round. Stipe Miocic come back and stop DC in 4. So the rematch is there. Boom, they go into the rematch. He wins the decision. 2 losses in a row, no title. Why is Daniel Cormier still sitting at 7? He's still a legend of the sport. I don't know. But why he's sitting at number 7 is puzzling. Anyway, number 8. Number 8, in a sense, Justin Gaethje coming off his win with Tony Ferguson. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this is a pretty good spot. He's the interim lightweight champion. He's cool. You know what I'm saying? He earned the shit. He went in there and put work in on Ferguson. I mean, I can watch that fight forever in a day, y'all. I loved it. I'm a fan of Justin Gaethje. I'm not going to lie. Ever since he was out of the UFC and came over, I was a fan. Very tough dude, man. Him at 8, I agree. Previously, Max Holloway was at number 8. That's before he stepped in there with Volkanovski for the rematch. So 9, Dustin Diamond Poirier. If you remember, Dustin Poirier, you know, he's been in there with some big names. I'm not going to lie. Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor. He's been in there with Khabib. He ended up being subbed out. But check this out. He fought Max Holloway for the interim title when Max was trying to be champ. He was trying to contend to be champ. That's when he was actually featherweight champion. So he moved up to face Dustin Poirier, which was a bigger fighter, at lightweight. He went in there, he lost. Max got hard. He went in there and gave the best he could. He got hard, but it didn't work out. Then Dustin became the interim title holder for the lightweight division, and he had his opportunity to go in there and face Khabib, and Khabib ended up subbing him out in 3. You had your opportunity. But him being at number 9 is exactly, I can say, okay, cool. He don't have a title just like DC. So I say, okay, Dustin's still competitive. All right, cool. Keep him at 9, whatever. And number 10 is Max Holloway, like I said, the former featherweight champion. He lost twice to the now current champion, Alexander Volkanovski. So he's sitting at number 10. Now, I don't know what the criteria is for this pound-for-pound list, but like I said before, how many divisions there are in the men's? 8, right? So how many do you see right now inside of the top 10? Let's count. We have Alexander Volkanovski. That's 1. You have Alexander Volkanovski sitting at number what? 6 right now, I believe. So you have 6 champions up there. Alexander Volkanovski, Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, Stipe Miocic, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and John Jones. Okay, we still have to include John Jones because nobody's picked up his title yet. There's 6. Now, this is why I truly don't understand how Volkanovski is a 145er, but then again, we have 2 other champions that's out in the backyard of the top 15. Anyway, number 11 is Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is campaigning at the welterweight division right now. I don't see him stepping in there with Usman anytime soon, but he's been dilly-wagging around. He went in there with a Cowboy Cerrone who said he didn't want to be there, and he's doing this shoulder thrust and shit and kicked him and, stopped him in the first round. It wasn't impressive because Cowboy Cerrone came back, a matter of weeks, couple of weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. He came back and went the distance. So he was probably telling the truth. Anyway, Conor McGregor sits at number 11, the notorious one, the first 2-division champion in the UFC. And I always talk about what he was able to do, people. He was able to defeat Silva and go in there and defeat Chad Mendez, then step in there with Jose Aldo 13 seconds. He doesn't go for the lightweight title immediately. He goes up to the welterweight division to face Nate Diaz, a very dangerous BJJ black belt under Cesar Gracie. He goes in there and gets subbed out. I was so happy that day. I was like, good. Because that would teach you a lesson that you can't just be a counterpuncher and disrespect that Nate Diaz with his Stockton slap is not a pressure type of danger that you ever see in the cage. Why? Because Conor McGregor really didn't want to go in for the shot because Nate Diaz is a high-level BJJ practitioner. So he wanted to keep it on the feet. So being that he couldn't knock out Nate Diaz very early and get the shit done, he ended up going in for the shot anyway. And Nate subbed him out. Round 2, easy work. So therefore, Conor McGregor, he recovers, come back for a rematch, wins decision. Legendary shit, right? I have to give it to him. It was legendary. The way he rose up, defeated Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, went up. And this is what I was talking about when it comes to boxing. Y'all sit up here and look at boxing and you say, man, that's stupid. That's stupid. But when Conor McGregor was doing this shit in the UFC, y'all didn't say that. The mixed martial arts fan wasn't saying that. Conor McGregor went up from featherweight, 145, past 155, all the way up to 170. The weight class don't mirror up, but you can do the numbers, okay? You can do the numbers when it comes to the weight divisions and how many pounds you're giving up by going up a division. So just say, for instance, it's just like in boxing. You go from freaking welterweight, which is 147, and you damn near going up past super middleweight, which is 168, right? That's what Conor McGregor did. He basically went from 145 up to 170. Exclude the equal weight divisions from boxing and mixed martial arts. There isn't. Welterweight is 170, and welterweight in boxing is 147. So back to what I was saying. Conor McGregor goes in for the rematch. Boom. He wins. He drops back down to 155 to face Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King, and he stops him with punches. He becomes the first 2-division champion. That right there ignited his popularity enough for him to start talking trash in the media, and then he was able to get the fight with Floyd Mayweather. People, that shit was like 3 years ago. Changing of the fucking guard. Things have since moved on from Conor McGregor. Imagine that shit. Conor McGregor was in a place where he had 2 belts, and people was like, damn, Conor McGregor the shit. But he went over there to boxing, took his time coming back to mixed martial arts, got subbed out by Khabib Nurmagomedov. You know, he tried to return to the sport like Sugar Ray did with Hagler, but it just didn't work. So he returned, and he gets subbed out by Khabib. Changing of the freaking guard. You know, the Jose Aldos, change of the guard. The freaking Eddie Alvarez, change of the guard, man. You know what I'm saying? The ones that you expect. Conor McGregor, changing of the guard. So you have 6 divisions that's in the top 10. Now we outside of the top 10, and Conor McGregor's number 11. Number 12 is Petr Yan. He is the current bantamweight champion. Why is Petr Yan or Peter Young all the way down here at number 12? I don't know. I don't know how you can have a non-champion such as Max Holloway at the top 10. How you can still have Dustin Poirier, you know what I'm saying, in the top 10. You feel me? Like, how does this work? Justin Gaethje, I can see why they have him at number 8 because he has an interim title. But Petr Yan is the bantamweight title holder. So, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? 13 is Davison Figueiredo, and he's the current flyweight champion. You know, he's deserved. He pretty much, don't nobody know too much, you know, who he is. He missed the scales, came back, beat Joseph Benavidez, one of the only fighters that people say have beat everybody and did enough to be champion. He just happened to be at a time where the sport is continuously growing. Figueiredo is a very big flyweight, strong, and he went in there and put a hurting on Joseph Benavidez. And it was kind of a sad occasion, but yeah, he's right where he should be as far as popularity. But he's a champion. So I'm thinking, you know, top 10, it doesn't matter if you're a champion or not. It's all about, I guess, popularity. You know what I'm saying? 14, Robert Whittaker, former middleweight champion. He's coming off that big win with Darren Till. Yeah, the same Darren Till that stepped in there with Tyrone Woodley. The same Darren Till that stepped in there with Jorge Masvidal. You know, I mean, Darren Till's trying to find his way, man. He's trying to find his way. But Robert Whittaker came up with the win. He's at 14. And closing up number 15 is Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, man, he lost. He had that loss to Justin Gaethje. I'm not sure if I agree with him being at 15. But then again, I look at the old pound for pound. For a long time, Conor McGregor was sitting at number 15, and he wasn't doing shit. He wasn't doing a motherfucking thing. And they had him just lounging in the damn back half of the 15. So I guess they're going to do Tony Ferguson like that out of respect. You know, he put in a freaking a hard-fought battle. He was stopped, but they, you know, the winning streak that he had before he stepped in there with Justin Gaethje, I guess they're giving him a little bit of credit, and that's where it's at. But it's a changing of the guard all the way, you know, that you look at the divisions, changing of the guard, man. Just look at Israel Adesanya, how quickly he rose to fame. Seriously, how quickly he rose to fame, man, in the middleweight division. It was very quick. Look how quickly Kamaru Usman rose to fame. I mean, people was dogging out Tyrone Woodley, but then again, when freaking Kamaru Usman came in there and dominated him, people was like, he basically dominated Tyrone Woodley for what Woodley was known for. You know, he was known for his heavy hands and his wrestling, but Kamaru Usman came in there and basically dominated him with the wrestling. So now they probably saying, oh, we got another wrestler. Hey, say what you want. But Usman has proven with his 2 title defenses, he's proven that he's legit. So who's next? But I like, you know, mixed martial arts is a beautiful display of combat skills. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen with the heavyweight division with John Jones. It will be good to see him face either Francis Ngannou or Stipe Miocic. And for those of you that actually tune in, whenever that fight comes on with Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa, I definitely will be covering it. Period. Definitely. I definitely will be covering that fight. For those of you that's going to be tuned in to mixed martial arts, there's no way I will abandon that. Hey, if I was just covering one combat sport, cool. It'll be lethal. But no, I have to go through and you know, cover boxing and mixed martial arts because I love them the same. You know what I'm saying? I love them to be in the equation on both sides, you know? Yeah. Give them both a hug and put the media out there with it. That's what it's all about. But yes, that's your top 15 in the men's. You know, and just stay tuned for a lot to come, you know, challenges in those particular divisions. From what I understand, Henry Cejudo may attempt to come back and challenge Alexander Volkanovski at the featherweight division to become the first 3-division champion. Right now, the only multi-champion that's in the UFC right now is Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes is the bantamweight champion and the featherweight champion. I think I know the women. A lot of people don't talk about the women pound for pound list, but I think it goes something like Melanie Nunez, of course, she's the pound for pound. And speaking of divisions, we had 8 divisions. It was only 6 champions in the top 10. But for the women's division, they go from strawweight, the flyweight, the bantamweight, the featherweight. They go from 115 to 145. Okay, so if you look at it this way, Amanda Nunes is a champ in 2 divisions, bantamweight and featherweight. So she's number 1. Number 2, you would think it's Valentina Shevchenko, who's the flyweight champion, but it's not. It's Wiley Zhang, who just picked up the belt from Jessica Andrade. And she was able to defend it against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. But why is she above Valentina Shevchenko is puzzling. But she's number 2. Number 3 is Valentina Shevchenko. Number 3. She should goddamn do head kicks in the weigh-ins to the people who is doing this freaking, who is putting this pound for pound list together. But anyway, she's number 3. Number 4, if I'm not mistaken, is who's number 4? Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas is number 4. Number 5 is Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She had a losing streak, but she came off that FOTY with Wally Zhang in the women's division. And guess what? I guess they're giving her some credit for going in there battling the champion, being that she defended her title 5 times. But yet, since Thug Rose shut her down twice, she hasn't really been able to get back on that streak. So therefore, when it comes down to it, I guess they're giving her some credit, keep her in the top 5. I get it, what have you. But she took some punishment at Wally Zhang fight. Number 6, from my understanding, is who's number 6 in the women's pound for pound? Who's number 6? I believe is Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade won the title from Thug Rose, dumped her on the head. And then she went in there and defended against Wally Zhang. And she was stopped in round 1. Just a stupid game plan to try to match your power against power of Wally Zhang instead of just watching the film, being more astute with your cage IQ and coming in there and taking your time. But yeah, Jessica Andrade sits at number 6. Number 7 is Tatiana Suarez, wrestler, been out for a little bit with an injury. But yeah, Tatiana Suarez, man, looking forward to seeing her get back in there. Number 8 is Holly Holmes, former 18-time boxing champion. You know what I'm saying? And she was former bantamweight champion. Most notable, she was the one to go in there and shut down Ronda Rousey with a beautiful freaking game plan that day. And she shut her down with a high kick. Ronda never seen it coming. She heard it with a punch and then landed that high kick, and the rest is history. She would later go on to lose it to Miesha Tate, who hung on for dear life on the last minutes of the fight and ended up sinking in a submission and was able to get her freaking bantamweight title before she just, went on about her business. So number 8 is Holly Holmes. Number 9, let me see, who's number 9, man? 8 is Holly Holmes. Number 9, who in the heck? Jermaine, what's her name? Jermaine Rondame? That's her name? The one that wouldn't fight Chris Cyborg? You know what I'm saying? Jermaine Rondame, she's sitting at number 9. She can fight too. She's very tough. But people dog the shit out of her because she wouldn't fight Chris Cyborg. And she was the champion at 45. So she just said, fuck it. I'm not cool with it. You know what I'm saying? And she didn't fight Chris Cyborg. So she called a lot of heat for that shit. But anyway, I ain't gonna talk on it. I'm done with that. Number 10 on the women's pound for pound list. What's number 10? Who in the hell is number 10? Number 10. I can't believe, let's see. Deuteronomy is number 9. Number 10 is Aspen Ladd. She's an upcoming contender or whatever. Number 11, I think is, who's number 11? Number 11 on the women's pound for pound list. I believe number 11 is who? Because Jessica Andrade was higher. Who's number 11? It's not Claudia Cordelia. Damn. Who's number 11 on the women's pound for pound list? Totally forgot. Because this list right here fluctuates more than the men. But number 11, I'm trying to think. Is it? No. Number 10 was Aspen Ladd. And then number 11, I believe, is Jessica Andrade. No, Jessica Andrade was higher on the list. I would say Caitlin Chudikin, I believe. I think. 12 would be it gets a little fuzzy after the top 10 in the women's pound for pound list. It gets real fuzzy. But I would think 12 would be Caitlin Chulikin, and then 12. I want to say not Cynthia Cavallo, but number 12 will be Claudia Cordelia. I believe Claudia Cordelia is number 12. Number 13 is Cynthia Cavallo. 14. Who's 14? I know 15 is Nina Asaroff, and 14 is Julia Pena. That's it. I think 11 is Katie Chudikin. 12 is Claudia Cordelia. 13 is Cynthia Cavallo. 14, Julia Pena. And 15, Nina Asaroff. Bam. There it is. The men and women UFC pound for pound list. There it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to call it a day. I appreciate everybody who stopped through earlier and everything. But the women, they have changed guards. There's no change in the guard. They have changed guards. They have so minimal divisions that they changed guards. Ronda Rousey gone. Amanda Nunes took over the bantamweight division. Look, Chris Cyborg really never reigned for a long time in the featherweight division, but you got to give her credit. She's held the belt. She's held the belt in every division. Look, every organization that she's ever fought in, she's held the belt, y'all. Chris Cyborg is the GOAT, one of the GOATs of mixed martial arts, period. Period, man. And more than likely, she lost to Amanda Nunes because she wanted to go over to Bellator. She didn't want to be locked into another contract, and Dana White didn't treat her right. You know, it was calling her a man and all that shit. So anyway, she's over at Bellator as a featherweight champion, and Amanda Nunes is the featherweight and bantamweight champion. So, you know, changing of the guard from Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg, okay? And then you look at the flyweight division, and you have Valentina Shevchenko, who's a worthy opponent in the flyweight division. They made the flyweight division. It hasn't been in existence that long, the 125-pound division. They've been creating these divisions as more female competitors come on deck. You know what I'm saying? So right now, a division that's popping pretty good is the strawweight division, a division that Joanna Jacek was having her way and doing good things until she ran into Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas knocked her out in one round and then won a decision. Now that's even changed. That shit's changed. Jessica Andrade defeats Rose Namajunas, and then we have the first Chinese champion, world champion in the UFC in Weili Zhang. But you know what it is. Appreciate y'all for stopping through. Mixed martial arts, boxing, man. You know what it is. It's going down. Turn up and tune in. I shall be back. Be sure you share and subscribe, man, to the channel. Keep updated. Hit the bell icon for the notifications. And always salute from World Combat Sports.